Paul George also had a legacy game in Game 5.
It really was the worst night of my life.
And he had 37
back to
points.
back.
He had 37, 16, and 5. Really efficient. But also, Reggie Jackson had 22. Morris had 25. Mann had 13. And that absolutely ridiculous dunk on Rudy Gobert,
that was
which
crazy.
was crazy.
That was crazy.
And Morris was looking like New York Knicks Marcus Morris. Remember when he was our star
I
player
remember
last
that.
year, averaging
He was
20?
killing.
He looked like that. The Clippers are now up 3-2, and before the game happened, somebody on TikTok asked me what I thought the key for them winning Game 5 was, and I mentioned 3 things. Paul George having a great performance, that happened. The Clippers doubling Donovan Mitchell, that happened. And the Clippers just continuing to play small, and that happened as well. I think that the Clippers have found the recipe to beat Utah, and that's playing small, doubling Mitchell, and you just got to hope Paul George performs, and to this point he has been performing. And I feel like the Jazz are in trouble. They have been figured out. This Clippers team shoots just as good from the 3, and they can do more things. Like Utah, we're seeing now, is a very one-dimensional team in terms of they're just going to put up shots. And Donovan Mitchell, because he was getting doubled, it was very hard for him to get inside the paint.
Yeah,
so he was settling for those jump
and
shots.
that ankle injury.
Exactly.
It's taking a toll on him.
Exactly. And the Clippers are now up 3-2, and what do you think? You think the Clippers will finish out the series, or do you see the Jazz winning in 7?
Well, I said it. Well, first of all, you guys follow me on the Instagram. I was trusting playoff P, trusting P. I was lit yesterday. It got live, but yeah, I think I said this. I think was it yesterday or I said this last week. Game 5 was very important for the Clippers. They had to go in there and they had to beat Utah because if they didn't, it was over. They wasn't gonna win.
Especially with no Kawhi.
Yeah, like they really
task.
like Game 5 had to be really the best game in Paul George's life, and it was. Marcus Morris stepped up. Reggie Jackson stepped up. Finally, he just decided to play Zubac for 8 minutes. Rondo got a little burn, but it was really like T-Man, Luke Kennard, Pat Bev hit some timely shots, played excellently defense for a stretch. It was just a team effort, you know, and I think, like you said, you hit it on the nail. The Clippers have figured out Utah, and the thing with Utah is without Mike Conley, you don't have that other ball handler to break down that double team. And Donovan Mitchell's ankle is bothering him, so he can't get into the lane as much as he wants. So he's taking that jump shot, and when he's double teamed, he isn't making a move. And like I think Rudy Gobert, you know, as great as he is defensively, and as much he's dominated on the defensive end, they've actually scored at a groundbreaking rate when Gobert is on the court. The Clippers have exposed Gobert as like they switch and they're hunting. Reggie Jackson was hunting for Gobert all night, and Rudy Gobert on offense, he's not impactful. Like they set a screen, he rolls, they don't see him, he's just lingering. He's not a guy who gets open, he's not a guy who imposes his will unless it's on the offensive glass. So I think the small ball has definitely figured them out. And I got the Lakers, oh my God, you guys got eliminated a minute ago. I got the Clippers in Game 6 at home. I think Paul George is going to. Yeah, I think Paul George is going to have about 25 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists. I think Morris is going to hit a couple threes. Reggie's going to show up. T-Man, he usually plays better at home. Luke Kennard also. I think this is going to be a big-time effort, and they're going to take it home in L.A.
All right. Well, I'll start with Paul George because as a man, you know,
show respect.
You say things.
Yeah, apologize to him.
You got to be willing to admit when you're wrong. And Paul George probably had the single greatest game of his life, truthfully. The only other game that I think rivals this would be that first game against Miami back in the day when he was on Indiana, when he went back and forth with LeBron all night. But I felt like this one was more defining because this one was really an individual. Like, you know, Kawhi's not going to be playing. It's possible that Kawhi is not going to be around for the rest of the postseason. And Paul George is the man on this squad, and he has to take that responsibility of being the primary ball handler, being the guy that's going to be taking a good portion of the shots. He's got to be the guy that's also going to try and incorporate his teammates so that to get them some confidence. So if they want to make a push at the championship, he's going to need all these guys to come along with him. And you look at a guy like Reggie Jackson, who's definitely playing the best basketball of his career. You look at Morris, who looks like the Morris of old. Batum has provided some decent minutes for him. He had a plus 13 yesterday. Terrence Mann came out of nowhere yesterday, had a really solid game, plus 15. And they're not even utilizing guys like Rondo, who at the trade deadline they thought would be a good piece for them, and he only played 9 minutes. Zubac, like you mentioned, they moved to a small ball lineup to adjust to Utah's roster. He only played 8 minutes. and they're dominating on all aspects of the game. Paul George was incredibly efficient. His 3-point shooting, 3 for 9, not bad. I would like it to be a little bit up, or if that's going to be the case, bring the volume down and just keep being aggressive the way he has been. The mid-range game for him has been unbelievable this postseason. I don't know if I'm willing to go all in on the Clippers winning this series. I'm going to sound a little bit of a hater right now. It's possible that Paul George just had one of those games where he just realized that his legacy was on the line and he had to get one without Kawhi, because then he would be Kawhi's sidekick for the rest of his career. That's how people like me would see Paul George. But he made a statement. He really proved to people like me that he really is a different breed of basketball player. But I think Utah's going to make the adjustments that they have to. I hope that this Donovan Mitchell injury isn't as bad as it looked last night, because they obviously need him. Conley's going to have to try and give it a go game 6. Also, I feel like I mentioned in the last show, I feel like he just needs to take the ball out of Donovan's hands to let Donovan create something on his own off ball, or just let someone else take some shots that are going to take off Donovan Mitchell, because Donovan Mitchell, these last few games, his field goal percentage has been under 40. He really hasn't looked as efficient as he has in Game 1, Game 2. So I think that Utah's going to make the adjustments. They've been the best team in the NBA all season long. I think that they're going to take Game 6, and I think they take Game 7, because I think missing Kawhi is going to be that missing piece that the Clippers are really going to need.
There's no doubt that the Clippers are going to win this series because they have momentum, and Tyronn Lue has proven to be a coach that is great at making adjustments the further the playoff series goes, the opposite of what Doc Rivers was. And last year when Doc got fired and Tyronn Lue was hired, this was one of the questions. Will Tyronn Lue be able to make the adjustments that Doc Rivers has failed to make? And now in Philly, you see what Philly's going through right now. Even though I don't put the blame on Doc, we'll get into that later, still, Tyronn Lue has proven himself to be a very good coach. But I think Paul George is coming out for blood. I think he's a carnivore. I don't think he's a herbivore like the Bucks. And Paul George knows.
You're saying that. You need the Bucks to win tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good karma.
But they don't smell blood tonight. Their back is against the wall.
Yeah, they smell blood the other day, but they ain't
a deer's going to defend itself.
Yeah, true.
But it's not going to go after meat.
Okay.
But yeah, Paul George knows that this is a legacy series for him, not only game. To beat the Jazz, the number 1 seed without Kawhi, that would be huge for him. And I posed a question on Twitter yesterday. What if Paul George leads this Clippers team to the finals?
We need to stop the slander, please.
What would that mean for Paul George's legacy?
What else could anyone say?
Just think about this. Every great NBA player in NBA history has always had one all-time great run.
Correct.
Dirk Nowitzki, people forget, but before he won that championship, he was labeled as a guy who couldn't get it done.
He was an MVP and lost in the first round.
Didn't he go to the finals against D Wade that first time?
And lost 4 straight.
Yep.
They won. They was up 2-0, and then D Wade just went bananas.
So people forget that Dirk was labeled as a guy who couldn't get it done. Paul George right now is labeled as that same guy, and with the injuries to Brooklyn right now, if let's say Brooklyn advances to the conference finals, they face Atlanta. And Atlanta moves on because Brooklyn is injured.
Oh my God!
Could the Clippers beat
that finals
the Hawks?
Lit.
Oh my God!
Could the Clippers beat the Hawks?
Oh, I would be.
I think. Are you genuinely asking?
No, it could happen. I'm saying it could.
No, it definitely could happen. I just think that.
Who would you put your money on?
I've been sleeping on the Hawks too long.
I would go Atlanta, honestly.
I'm going Clips, man. I can't I can't run away from that now.
Yeah,
That'd be the best chance though, because if we go see Nets and KD and Harden gets healthy and then KD it's over. We're gonna probably
anything that's not the Nets.
Because we don't have Kawhi. But if we play Atlanta, even if we play Philly, I think we'll still be okay. But I think if we play the Nets and then we don't have Kawhi, it's 5 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not looking too good. I do agree. I think Tyronn Lue, he's definitely – and people used to say in Cleveland, it was the LeBron show. He wasn't a good coach. They just had LeBron. But I think what he's proven right now is he's a really, really good coach. He's one of the best coaches in the league. And next year, he's definitely going to have that standard to maintain. He's building a different culture that Doc Rivers couldn't build in L.A., so I think that's good. But, the simple thing is, you're right. Paul George smells blood. Marcus Morris smells blood. Reggie Jackson smells blood. Like, these guys have figured Utah out, and they're hitting shots at a ridiculous rate. They have a chance to win 4 straight games, and I think Utah just can't, with the injuries to Donovan Mitchell, his ankle, with Mike Conley out, they just don't have enough of a go-to guy down the stretch to really get it going. They had a great season. They were a number 1 seed. But it's over. And now with the Chris Paul COVID thing, the Clippers could, if they win tomorrow night, they can see Phoenix without having Chris Paul. It's possible for that. So if they can steal a game or 2 in Phoenix and then go back to LA, that could definitely make it a chance for them to win that series.
Without Kawhi, I just feel like a championship run is so slim.
Oh,
it is slim.
It is
so
slim.
it can't happen.
But we thought winning Game 5
What
was
percentage
slim.
would you give it without Kawhi?
32?
Without Kawhi,
I give about 32.
I guess 30. I don't know. I guess 32% chances is around.
I was gonna
the
say
area
definitely
I would give it
less than.
I think if Chris Paul is out, right, for say 1
to
or 2
get
games.
to the finals.
Yeah,
To get to the finals.
Yeah. If Chris Paul is out for 1 or 2 games and they steal one of them in
25%
Phoenix,
chance.
I was gonna say 20.
I think they could do it. I would bet on Phoenix though.
I would too.
I just
I wouldn't be surprised.
I just don't know if I can confidently say that Reggie Jackson's gonna be this Reggie Jackson.
Well, he's been.
He has been. And
He's great in the playoffs.
I'm shocked at this, truthfully, and Morris too.
And I think
Would you take Westbrook or Jackson in the
I
playoffs?
can't believe
you
you
got to
really
stop
put it on
acting.
air.
You got to stop acting.
I'm being honest.
I
It's
know
a
you
serious
are.
question.
I'm taking Russ. I'm not gonna say anything other than Russ.
I'm not going to answer the question.
You wouldn't take Reggie Jackson over Russell Westbrook in the playoffs.
Me? I would take Reggie Jackson over Russell. The way he's playing right now, there's a reason why Rondo isn't playing. Paul George unlocking that playmaking ability and Reggie Jackson being that go-to guy at the 1. They don't really need the Rondo that we all thought they were getting at the deadline, a playmaker that can create. He's really, he's right now he's just on the bench having a Jared Dudley role, just there for mentorship, leadership, talk to T-man, coaching. But I right now it's looking like this lineup of PG, Batum, Morris, Jackson, T-man, or Kennard, or Pat Bev. These are the guys he's rolling with. And the tallest guy is Paul George, and he's out-rebounding Rudy Gobert, bro.
Yeah, not easy.
Marcus Morris has been on him, though.
No, I'm just saying, he's out-rebounding Rudy
Period,
Gobert. So it's I think it's gonna cause trouble for Phoenix if they do win because they got another big guy down there with DeAndre, but he crashes the boards too.
He's very athletic.
But I think small ball is gonna kind of mess them up too. But they can also go small ball too.
Cam Johnson.
Yeah, Phoenix is gonna have. Right. I think Monty Williams and Phoenix. I think with Quinn Snyder, it's just hard for him because he doesn't really have a small ball lineup that can really match the Clippers, but I think Phoenix does.
It's because you really can't take Gobert out of the lineup.
You can't. That's their guy.
Yeah.
And with Phoenix, they don't have to take Aiden out, but they can because you can play Cam, Crowder, Bridges at that 3-4-5 spot.
Mm-hmm.
So they can match up a little bit better with the Clippers. So I think Monty Williams will be able to adjust and adapt to that situation. Quinn Snyder is just in a tough position because his 7-8 guys at the end, Derek Favors, Niang, they shouldn't really be in the game, but you got to throw them in there. So it's tough for him.